All right, if I could ask you all to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance as we call this meeting to order. And along with the Board of Selectmen, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I should have checked this chair first. But it happens, I guess, unless I... Here it is. All right. With the pledge. This is one of our very special meetings and certainly one of, I'm going to say my favorite, but I think it's our favorite.
Absolutely.
As we go after a year in terms of what we get to do here. We have a couple of recognitions. As I believe everybody's aware, we started a town program a few years back to recognize both an Employee of the Year and a Resident of the Year for their contribution to our town, kind of above and beyond the call of duty. As part of that, in looking at the Employee of the Year, the primary criteria for consideration are service and job performance that goes beyond the daily work of the individual and that benefits the Fairfield government and community as a whole. We've been doing this for a number of years and recognized a number of worthy individuals in this regard. As you're aware, we put applications out or nominations out to the town. We've received those. I'd like to thank at this time our Employee of the Year committee members, Ed Crowley, Holly Lanese, and Connie Nolfi. And after a long and strenuous process, I believe there were several all-night sessions involved, it is my pleasure, actually our pleasure, to announce the 2013 Employee of the Year winner as Tom Stanky. Tom, congratulations. Now, there are a couple things we need to do. Mr. Stanky, if you'll bear with us just a moment. One is we do have this fabulous plaque that will be engraved with Tom's name as, wow, has been engraved with Tom's name.
Efficiency.
We are good. And so Tom will have the honor of seeing his name on this plaque. As well as we have a certificate here from Congressman Jim Himes that reads, Thomas J. Stanky, 2013 Town of Fairfield Employee of the Year. I join the Town of Fairfield Board of Selectmen in celebrating the important contributions you have made to our community through your dedication to public service and your passion for environmental conservation, which offer inspiration to us all. Jen, is this, and this is also the...
Yeah, and the people nominated him.
Oop. Thank you. Tom was nominated by one of our neighborhood organizations, Fairfielders Protecting Land and Neighborhoods, LLC. There were several of them that wrote in. And I think that we have a few good things to say here. But I think we, do you all want to say something now?
I think we have people who
Shall we?
Or present, or let some folks go first? What's your preference?
Well, let him go first.
All right. We have an opportunity to allow a representative from Fair Plan, as it's known, if somebody would like to speak and kind of let us know a little bit on why you nominated Tom.
Hi, I'm Mary Hogue. I'm Vice Chair of Fair Plan, and
Linda Snellham Moore is our chairman, and she asked me to just say that on behalf of Fair Plan, she's honored to have submitted Tom's name to be considered for Fairfield's 2013 Employee of the Year. His unprecedented dedication to our town has protected our natural resources, wetlands, watercourses, and coastland for 35 years. We are so lucky to have a man so incredibly dedicated to Fairfield's environmental well-being. I am very disappointed that I could not be there with you today, but thank you from all of us for your enduring dedication. And I do have our nomination. Is it okay to read what we wrote in our nomination? Okay. Mr. Stanky has over 35 years of service to Fairfield, and we are so proud to be able to honor him with this award today. Under Mr. Stanky's leadership, the Fairfield Conservation Department has developed into an enviable example of good government in action, to the benefit of the character, health, and natural resources of our town and neighboring communities. In addition to his ongoing work on conservation and wetland issues and projects, Mr. Stanky has developed and managed our shellfish program, marsh restoration program, and our open space program. He is a nationally renowned expert in coastal wetland restoration. Under his leadership, the Fairfield Conservation Department has earned several awards, including the prestigious Gulf Conservation Award and the Chevron Conservation Award, both of which are national recognitions. Tom Stanky's dedicated work maintaining the health of the wetlands has without question resulted in the protection and restoration of significant amounts of wetlands, watercourses, and coastland shore of our town. This includes detailed investigation, research, and education regarding serious and complex land issues. He goes well beyond the call of duty, expending countless hours in the field on his own time to ensure that state and town boards and commissions are fully informed. The level of expertise and the depth and breadth of detail in Mr. Stanky's reporting to both municipal and state agencies is without comparison. Natural resources are not confined by town bodies, and promoting environmental health requires attention over the long term. In this regard, Tom has worked tirelessly with neighboring communities over decades to ensure the health of our town, our region, and the state of Connecticut. During 2013, Tom was highly praised by all, including our first selectman, for his work and expertise in bringing the Exide cleanup of the Mill River to resolution. Due primarily to his untiring efforts and historic perspective, Fairfield's largest river will be cleaned to a higher standard with more monitoring, better communication, and more safeguards. The adjacent 6-acre parcel of land can finally be put to economic use. It is his in-depth research, technical expertise, and spirit of cooperation that led Fair Plan in a unique collaborative effort with town commissions such as the Shellfish, Conservation, and Harbor Management Commissions. Without Tom's decades of hard work and attention to detail, the town would not have the outcome at the Exide site that we now all support. Tom has dedicated his life to the betterment of our town, and here are a few examples. Under Mr. Stanky's leadership, 150 acres of salt marsh were successfully restored through the use of self-regulating tide gate. He invented and patented these gates, and he maintains and monitors them during storms. During Hurricane Sandy, Tom was instrumental in minimizing the damage from the storm and the surge. Tom's expertise helped the Shellfish Commission in assessing the impacts on the shellfish from all storms. Tom's recommendation to dredge Ash Creek at the Metro North Railroad crossing was instrumental in the DOT replacing the railroad bridge over Ash Creek because of the increase of flooding due to debris buildup under the bridge. Tom was the first to question the proposed river crossings of Middletown to Norwalk high-voltage transmission line. Due in large part to his research and dogged analysis, other methods were chosen for transmission. Our waters were safe again. Tom advised the Greater Bridgeport Conservation Technical Advisory Committee on the Broadwater Liquid Natural Gas Long Island Sound project. The nomination of Mr. Stanky for this honor is endorsed by Mylan Bull of the Connecticut Audubon Society, Larry Cayley of Fairfield's Earth Day celebration, and Joy Shaw, founder of the Mill River Wetland Committee and author of River Lab program, who also endorses this nomination. All three of these individuals noted how helpful Tom Stanky has been to their organizations. Mr. Stanky has multiple degrees, MS in Wildlife Ecology, Thesis Mathematical Programming and Natural Resource Management, BS Cum Laude Forest Management, BS Cum Laude Wildlife Biology, AAS Technical Forestry. The town of Fairfield is very fortunate that Tom chose to stay in the public sector with us for 35 years rather than availing himself of a very lucrative arrangement at a private company. Mr. Stanky is eminently qualified and uniquely deserving of the 2013 Employee of the Year Award. We are so happy our selectmen have followed the positive recognition he accorded to Mr. Stanky this year after the Exide agreement was announced by awarding him the honor of Employee of the Year. As you can see, many Fairfield residents are so pleased that Mr. Stanky has been recognized for his enormous effort on our behalf. We are glad that this is the year he is awarded the Fairfield Employee of the Year for his invaluable 35 years of stewardship of our town land. Mr. Stanky's stewardship has protected the health of our land, our own health, and allowed Fairfield to flourish as a place to live and work. Thank you very much, and here's a copy for you.
Thank you. Mary, thank you. You know, I think, Larry, did you want to say a few words?
A few words, yes.
You never say a few words.
I do say a few words. I remember,
Larry, if I could ask you,
Oh, I'm
one, to
sorry.
speak up to the podium, and second, to let everybody hear and at home know who you are, even though you're familiar to all of us.
well, as long as that does not breed contempt. I'm Larry Cayley, Chairman, well, Emeritus now of Fairfield's Earth Day Committee. Mary is the new chairman. But Tom, I remember when I was first on the RTM, and there was a meeting, I think the Open Space Committee, and what impressed me was you had a very nice jacket and tie and chinos and work boots. And I realized here is somebody who understands what's going on. And as far as the environment goes, as far as specifically the environment in Fairfield. And I just want to repeat what Mary said, but very briefly. I appreciate your breadth of knowledge of the environment in Fairfield, and I invite you to share it with us all in other ways. For example, if you happen to be free on April 26th, you are certainly welcome to come to Fairfield's Earth Day and be a featured guest. Congratulations.
Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome.
Is anyone else from public? Mr. Stedman?
Congratulations. Thank you. Ah, this is a moment that truly makes a joyful
If you would
season.
be- If you'd be kind
Oh, my
enough-
name is Joy Shaw, and I live on Mill River.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I say again, this is a moment that truly makes this a joyful season for so many of us who are deeply aware of how much this incredibly dedicated and knowledgeable man deserves and has deserved this award for so many years, and how much we owe him for always being available to us for whatever we need to know about some part of the local environment for a specific project, or how we could become informed to speak out to protect a precious natural asset in our community. The Mill River Wetland Committee, for whom I'm speaking tonight, owes tremendous thanks to Tom for his unfailing responsiveness to any of our River Lab program needs, whether in the developing of program content for the Mill River or any of the 3 estuaries that we have used, or in having his department build or maintain structures to allow safe student group movement around Mill Hollow or Perry's Pond. Our very special thanks also to Tom for the indispensable help he gave us in developing the River Lab estuarine study trips. And I'm speaking now particularly, I wish that Dee Boughton Youngs could be with me, because she is too busy with her professional work, and she was the person in the 1970s that really worked with Tom to line up an estuarine program for us. But here's the kind of information that I experienced with Tom when I would come to him for help. You know, take a look at those stones across the channel. They were the base of Peter Penfield's dam for his mill. And that platform with all the fiddle crabs on it was an old onion barge. And get some good pictures of the remains of that corduroy road that took the Penfield goods across the creek to Black Rock. It won't last much longer. Without the interest he helped us develop in the Ash Creek estuary at St. Mary's, we would not have the thriving program now involving 600 sixth grade students, their teachers, AP students, and enthusiastic River Lab volunteer guides that now make up the study trips on both sides of that estuary. So thank you, First Selectman Tetreault, and your reviewing committee for your excellent and wise decision to award this extraordinarily accomplished guardian of our environment for his unparalleled dedication over this past year to help us gain vital improvements to the plan for removing lead from the upper estuary of the Mill River. God bless you all.
Thank you.
This is the visitor zone.
We'll get there.
Tom, fantastic.
Called you back.
Just fantastic.
Hi, Tina.
Board of Selectmen, you expect me to start out by talking about Tom, right? But I'm not going to.
Just start out.
Jane Talamini, Oldfield Road.
Talamini, thank you.
I am going to address the First Selectman first. It is such a pleasure and honor for me to think that that the government, town government is finally recognizing this man, and I thank you very, very much. We have been behind him for 25 years. I moved, now for Tom, I moved back into town 25 years ago. I didn't know what a wetland was, except it must have a lot of water. I learned that it is a crucial environmental factor in our town. For our own health, we as people need these wetlands. And you don't think of that, but we do, and Tom has just been wonderful about taking care of them. I want to thank him on behalf of I'm an ordinary citizen, for being available. Every time I went in with a question, first of all, in my early years, they were pretty stupid questions. Never any impatience, always diplomatic, always made me feel as though I had some sort of intelligence. And he would explain things to me unfailingly. You don't know what this means to a citizen to be able to go into a town department and feel welcome. And it was Tom who did this. And his staff is the same way. He has not trained, I think they all had innate characteristics. But his whole office is one you go into, you can ask any question, you can ask for information, and you will get pointed in the right direction. It's just a wonderful atmosphere, and I want to thank Tom very much for making me feel welcome as a citizen and for helping me learn a lot more than I knew 25 years ago when I moved back to town. I now go around the town and I see the things he has done, I see the things that remain to be taken care of, and I just feel as though with Tom at the helm that we are going along in a very positive path that's going to benefit us all. Thank you so much.
Mr. Stedman, if you would.
My name is Jeff Stedman. I've worked as a consultant to the town since 1986. And I serve as staff to the Harbor Commission, and I've also worked on projects for the Conservation, Shellfish, Forestry Committee, and also the Burr Homestead Committee. I only say that to let you know that I have a long history with Tom. I've worked with many federal, state, and local agencies, and it's my opinion that Tom is the most dedicated and hardest working public official I've ever known. And I know you all are too, but that's my opinion. And I think
Thank you for that.
and I think it's remarkable that his attitude and approach to his work is exactly the same now as it was when I first met him. He has the same enthusiasm, positive attitude, attention to detail, and dedication that he had in 1986. And the other interesting thing is he looks the same too. I don't know how that's relevant, but Tom has over 40 years with the town. I heard 35 years before. So I would imagine he's the longest-serving employee currently working for the town. And clearly, he's not working to accumulate retirement benefits or collect a paycheck, and my assumption is that he never has. I believe he's motivated, if not solely, at least principally, by his interest in protecting and advancing the public's interest for conservation and wise use of the town's natural resources. Some of the speakers mentioned the Marsh Restoration Program, and I agree, it's a program with national significance. Tom designed it and invented the self-regulating tide gates that were needed to implement it. And if you take this a step further, the restored wetlands are part of the town's open space program, which is managed by the Conservation Commission. And I think it's important to highlight this program when we're talking about Tom's experience, because I believe this is the best program from my experience, certainly in Fairfield County and maybe in the state of Connecticut, in terms of the extent of the town's open space areas, the quality of their management, and their benefit to the town. And I believe this was part of the vision of First Selectman John Sullivan in the 1960s, and Tom has helped sustain and guided ever since. The open space areas were required with town funds, state and federal grants, and private donations. They ranged from about an acre in size to 180 acres, and they're clearly helped to establish the town's character and the quality of life. The Conservation Department is responsible for managing these areas along with its other duties, and I think that the Conservation Department in Fairfield was the first such municipal conservation department established in Connecticut. Also, you shouldn't forget that Tom directs the Shellfish Commission, guided preparation of the town's shellfish management plan. And I know there's some people who may not be real interested in shellfish, but I think it's important and that they should be, because the shellfish in the town waters depend on clean water and good habitat, and therefore are important indicators of the quality of life and the environmental quality in the town. And I think it's important, and I know Tom is probably very, very uncomfortable now, and I think, you know, and I know if it's up to him, he would defer all of the credit that's being given to him today to the selectmen and to the conservation and shellfish commissions and the inland wetland agencies. Those are the agencies that he serves as the conservation director, and which have the ultimate authority for the policies that he's pursued. And I'm sure that he would wish that all of any accomplishments that you attribute to him be recognized as accomplishments of the boards of selectmen and of the agencies in the town of Fairfield. I'm almost done here. You probably know that Tom has experienced a few critics over the years. And I think, like every other bit of criticism, some of it's fair, but a lot of it is what you'd expect from parties who are self-interested and don't get their way, but that's just my opinion. But Tom has always persevered, and as you probably know, he doesn't shy away from difficult issues or conflicts. I've never seen him get down on himself, and he always maintains a sense of humor, and I don't think that's appreciated enough. Just digress, but Tom probably knows this, but I enjoy telling humorous stories about his approach to his work, and sometimes about how other people respond to his approach, and that's usually the most interesting part of the stories. But one thing that from a personal standpoint, this year's Exide project, in addition to resulting in the development of a good plan for restoring the Mill River, it also resulted in a lot of material for stories about Tom and his approach. But here's my summary for 4 points. First, I think Tom is a true public servant with absolutely no perception of impropriety. He once told me that he would think of me as a public servant too, but only if I offered to pay the town to work for it, and I declined to do that. Second, Tom is a true steward of the environment. which to me means that his interest is to care for the town's natural resources so they can be enjoyed by future generations. He wouldn't want to do anything else. Third, with regard to any environmental issue that may affect the town of Fairfield, I think the town residents can certainly be assured beyond any doubt that there will be no one better prepared or with more knowledge than Tom, and no one who will dig deeper into the issue than Tom in order to pursue the public's interest. And fourth, I believe Tom is the antithesis of the stereotypical bureaucrat. He's a unique and remarkable personality who is unlike anybody I've met in this business or anywhere else. And when he retires, which I hopefully will be some years in the future, someone will probably have his job, but it'd be an absolute certainty that he can't be replaced. So those are my opinions, and thank you for listening.
I saw a hand over here. Come on up to the podium.
I'm Pam Ritter. I'm a former member of the Conservation Commission for 10 years. I've been in town for 43 years, so I beat Tom by a teeny bit. And congratulations, Tom. And I second everything everybody else has said, especially about working with Tom and his department. And I think he also dedicated his knees to the town of Fairfield. But we should also thank Phil Barsky, a former resident of Fairfield who was on the Conservation Commission and worked with former First Selectman John Sullivan to find Tom and bring him to town so long ago. So we should be grateful that they were here and had the wisdom to do that back then.
Thank you. Did anyone else from the public want to share some comments? All right, I think I had a few. First of all, I want to clearly describe the process. I mentioned 3 people on the Employee of the Year committee that basically recommended 3 names, actually, to the Board of Selectmen, and it's by vote of the Board of Selectmen that Tom was recognized. So myself and my colleagues were involved in that decision. Having had a chance to work with Tom, both as First Selectman, but also prior to that, as a realtor here in town, I was in and out of conservation, building, and zoning from time to time, and had a chance to work with departments in other parts of town. I think that you immediately become aware of Tom's depth of knowledge. In fact, conservation or not, I'm not sure how many people, if anybody, knows more about the town of Fairfield. It's not just conservation and wetlands, it's our entire development and where things came from. Tom's one of the first sources I go to say, how did this happen? When did this start? How did we get here? And he's always impressed me with his depth of knowledge, but also, I think anybody who's worked with Tom was being impressed with his dedication. Much like the proverbial bulldog in terms of when he gets a hold of an issue, to get to understand it, get his arms around it, and make sure that it's fully described and understood by all the parties involved. So and I don't think anybody, whether you disagree with Tom or not, on any issue, can be anything but impressed with his passion for conservation, the environment, and the town of Fairfield in doing that. So I want to thank you for all of that, Tom, in terms of what you've done. And I'd like to also open it up to my colleagues to offer their thoughts. Please, Kristen, go right ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate what Mr. Stedman said about how uncomfortable Tom must be right now. And
Yeah, but this is our chance to make him uncomfortable. We don't get many.
I think it speaks to who he is and how he lives and works. Look, he's standing there ready to work. He's holding the work and holding the maps and ready to do his job and report here and share with us the work that's being done. And I think it just says a lot about you, Tom, that you are interested in that it's not about being recognized, it's about getting the job done, and your work is so much for others. And I think that that is a tremendous gift to all of us and an example. I think so many wonderful things have been said. I just think more than anything, it's your dedication and passion in such a self-effacing and humble way is truly a model for all of us. So thank you.
Mr. Kiley?
Thank you, sir. I would like to second every word that has been said up till now in reference to Tom Stanky. When I first met Tom, I was an RTM member as well, much like Mr. Cayley mentioned. It was back in 1993. And I knew the moment I met Tom that he was a man that was dedicated, he was motivated, and he was informed, and he was going to protect our town no matter what. He was always fair, and he was always firm, and I greatly respect that. And over the years, you have done just that, and everything else that's been mentioned here, and a lot more that won't get mentioned here. But three things come to mind when I think about the man Tom Stanky. You know, it is awareness, it is love, it is protection. Over the years, your dedication, your information has created an awareness for everyone, not just in this town, but in this state, about conservation and about preserving our environment. Secondly, your love for this town is unquestioned. The dedication and work that you put behind everything you do shows your love for our town every day. And finally, and back to the firmly part, you protect us. And you have protected us from day one, from 35 years ago, up until that day that you do retire, which we do hope is down the road. And I thank you, and I think everyone in this town should thank you for protecting our environment and for protecting our resources. And thank you very much.
Good. And would you care to join me in the presentation? Officially, here's the certificate from Congressman Hines. And a memento for you. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Balancing,
Thank you.
thank you.
Play poker with that face.
Thank you, sir.
Well done.
All right. Can we invite you, well, let's get a few photos here taken.
Oh,
He was referencing, we had an earlier conversation.
Want to stand up? Get your time?
Here, we'll
My daughter
turn
Megan.
this way, yes, here.
I think I wanted to be able to get the shot. Thanks.
do you want to come up?
Hey, Sam.
All right. Then, with this case, Mr. Stanky, we're now going to turn it over to you for a rebuttal.
Good luck with
Way to go
that.
this way.
Well, you've all said some very kind words. It's an honor to receive this. You know, you look back over 40-odd years at who let the genie out of the bottle here, and it's the town of Fairfield, with support from the public, co-workers, family, friends. It's remarkable. This was unexpected, but that's really about it. It's a thank you to Fairfield and to all of you for you know, elevating that effort, that work ethic, I guess, to this level. Thank you. Am I still on the agenda for item 5? I'll wait.
You came so well prepared. What Mr. Stanky is referring to is that in order to get him here today, without disclosing why he was coming here today, we put him on the agenda as an official item, item 5. Now, we were going to ignore that, until I heard that Tom prepared like a 40-page report. So, you know, the best of intentions, folks, we didn't mean to cause him this much more work. But, all right. There we are, all right.
That's great.
Tom, again, thank you. And then moving on to our next item, it's also recognition. In this case, it's Fairfield of the Year Award. And the primary criteria for consideration are personal time, energy, talent of service to the residents of Fairfield and to society in general that promotes betterment of life in our town. I want to thank the 2013 Fairfield of the Year committee members, Dan Caruso, Kathleen Howard, and Harvey Sussman, who culled the applications down and submitted several nominations to the Board of Selectmen, again, which the board here voted on. I trust this isn't a problem for inland wetlands. Forgive me. Back to the agenda. It is our pleasure to announce the 2013 Fairfield of the Year winner as Jean Harrison. Jean was also brought here under false pretenses. Hope that's not an issue for transparency and disclosure in government. Yeah. Jean was nominated by Kathleen Griffin and Betsy Brown. And is Betsy here?
Yes.
Would you like to say a few words?
I don't have anything prepared, but I have to say I cringe every time you call me because I'm like, okay, now I got to figure out something else to say about you. But we go way, way, way back. And Jean is one of my all-time favorite people in town. And as co-chairing the 375th, when I asked you about the fire hydrants, I don't think I had the request out of my mouth, and you said yes automatically. And I know it's a labor of love. And everyone knows just looking at you, the exuberance in your face and what you do and the love for the town, it just shows. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you do. And I'm so proud to call you my friend. So I love you. And this is very lovely. Because your dedication, I can't even imagine how far back it goes. So thank you.
Betsy, thank you. Any other comments from the public at this time? All right, then if I might, I'd like to add that on a personal note, I've really gotten to know Jean primarily through the 375th anniversary committee, and Jean has just bubbled over with ideas. We a lot of times we'll talk about young kids and their energy, and boy, if you could bottle it, we could say the same thing about Jean. She has more energy, more ideas, more creativity. Too many. I think you're personally responsible for our meetings going as long as they do. I meant that in a good way. But and I think it's a real gift to the town that 25 years after you initially painted the hydrants for our 350th, you were both still here, but still willing to get out and coordinate volunteers, get the paint and materials donated, and get out there and paint as many. And I've seen you out there personally doing. You don't get to talk yet. I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
I need to correct you.
Yes.
It was 35 years ago, and it
Ah.
was by Centennial.
Wow. Okay. 35 years ago. Thank you. I stand corrected. But to get back out, and I know you've done a whole bunch of those yourself, because I've seen you out there as I've been driving around, not helping you. I'm sorry. I will. Yes, you're right. You've got
I like that.
But again, on behalf of the town of Fairfield, thank you both for everything you've done, but also for being such a big part of our entire 375th anniversary celebration. And at this point, my colleagues would like to...
There you go. Gene, thank you very much. Thank you for sharing yourself, your life, and your art with our town, and making our town a better place to live for every citizen. If I may, I'd like to take 1 second here, or 1 moment here, and read something that's at the bottom of the application that came in for your nomination. And it is a follow-on to the list of commitments and contributions you have made to our town, and that list can go on and on and on. But the writer, William Morris, may have summed it up best when he said, "Art is a man's expression of his joy in labor." Jean Harrison is a Fairfielder who has spent her life expressing her joy through her work, which has indeed benefited so many others. Thank you, ma'am.
That was beautiful and so beautifully put, and the beauty that you have brought to the community through your life and your service and through what you've done with the fire hydrants. And I don't think that you even know how many lives you've touched as people out in the community, children, young and old alike, talk about that and notice and recognize that and find joy and beauty in that as well. So I thank you as well for your many years of dedication and service, and I hope to get to know you more in the future as we celebrate this year. Thank you so much.
Jean, I did want to point out that your name is inscribed on this plaque that will hang in Town Hall, so you're now immortalized. We also have a certificate from Congressman Jim Himes. And it said, presented to Jean Harrison, 2013 Fairfield of the Year. I joined the Town of Fairfield Board of Selectmen in celebrating the important contributions you have made to our community through your dedication and public service. Your work on historical preservation initiatives, youth organization, and the arts offer inspiration to all. Signed, Congressman Jim Himes. And would you like to join me in presenting this? Thank you. Yes.
Oh, that's very nice. Thank you.
Hello, darling. You guys are stinkers.
Here's your certificate.
Thank you.
And I think we need some pictures here.
My granddaughter. Both of them from Florida.
How sweet. Yeah? Good. Would you care to say a few words? All right. The mic is yours.
Well, this blows me away. You did catch me off guard.
If I could ask everybody's attention while Jean offers some thoughts.
It's wonderful to see a lot of my friends here, and I know they're here, and Tom Stanky is probably the reason they're here, and I'm here for that reason too, because he is somebody that I completely and thoroughly and utterly have depended upon on many, many little issues, and he's always there with the right answers. But to see people that I worked with the wetlands many, many, many years ago, probably close to 50, But then to have both of my granddaughters, who lost her mother about 4 years ago, Caitlin, who's sitting right next to me, just came up from Florida last night. I haven't seen her since Colorado a few months ago. So it's great to have, and my daughter, I mean, I was surprised to see her sitting out there, and my husband. Good Lord. Where's my dog? I think painting the fire hydrants, whereas it might make the town look a little spectacular, and I hope and pray, more than anything, that you guys aren't going to paint them yellow in a year, which is what some people are talking about doing. They really, from what I hear from everybody, and in my heart I agree, make Fairfield a spectacular and different town. And the idea that they have to be painted yellow after the 375th birthday is over, to me is a sin. First of all, it takes 4 hours to paint one. And secondly, if a fireman can't see a British redcoat better than he can see a yellow fire hydrant, he needs some kind of glasses. And I would like to tell a story, because you said I affect people. Boy, do I affect people, and I didn't realize it, and it blows me away and makes me feel one little thing done by one person. I get letters, I get phone calls, but one story that really this year hit me. This gentleman, many people stop and talk to us, but this gentleman came up as a friend and I were painting the hydrants. And I will say we have a 50-plus group. There's 5 lady friends of mine, and I'm in my 80s, so in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, we're out painting these hydrants, as well as some Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and a few others. Hi, Roy. I didn't even see you. And Carolyn. Anyway, this gentleman stopped and came up. We were painting in front of the Exide battery place, the hydrant there. And he comes over to me and he says, you know, years ago, I was 4 years old, and my grandmother was walking me. We were up at Andrew Ward, and this lady was painting this fire hydrant, and they were putting an eagle on it. And I said, yeah, we did eagles at Ludlow, or at Ward, and a Ludlow tiger. I said, just to be devilish, after you paint about 300 fire hydrants, you try to think of something different and do something devilish. He said, well, I was there with my grandmother, and I was so excited. And she offered me a paintbrush, and she said, you can paint too if you want. And I was painting that fire hydrant with her. And it made such an impression on me. And he said, I said, I was probably that lady. And he said, oh, really? And he came over, gave me a hug. He said, I have a picture of that. And I said, may I have a copy of it? And he said, sure, I'll make one. He came to my house, brought me a copy of the picture. Now, here's the other thing. He's a volunteer fireman now in Southport. He's gone out with me, and he's painted some fire hydrants. So this is just one case. And the other story that brought me to tears was, and this was 35 years ago when I was doing it, there was, I was painting the fire hydrant, a woman with a young child, he had to have been 10 or 12, comes walking up to me. It was front of either Eagle Hill School or on Harbor Road, one of those 2 hydrants there. No, it was Eagle Hill School. And she came wondering, we've been looking all over and wondering who's been painting these fire hydrants. We see them popping up everywhere. We never, ever, ever, ever see anyone painting them. And we're so excited to see who it is. And I said, well, here we are. And we started talking. I said, would you like to paint with me, to the little boy? And she said, well, like this, and she said, maybe not today because he's not dressed properly, and she was probably looking at me because I get more paint on me than I do the hydrant, and in the car, don't I, Wayne? But she said, maybe tomorrow, are you going to be here? I said, if the sun is shining, I will be here, we'll meet here. So here comes, back to the fire hydrant next day, has his white shirt on, Dad's shirt buttoned down the back, which we used to use for smocks a few years ago. And he gets down on all fours, and he's down near me. I was down on all fours then, too. And we were painting this fire hydrant. And I looked up at the mother, and she was crying. And I'm like, what'd I do? You know, always say, what do you do? And I looked at the boy and I said, "You missed that little yellow spot there. Get that block and make sure that's all black." I said, "I have to stand up. My foot's going to sleep." He said, "I'll get it, I'll get it." And he started that, and I went over to her and I said, "Are you okay?" She said, "Oh, these are tears of joy." She said, "I am so happy." She said, "I haven't seen him have this much fun in a long time." He has leukemia, and it's terminal. And she said, he loves the fire hydrants and loves painting them. And I said, "Here's my telephone number. I'll tell you wherever I am, and he can come and help me paint anytime." So you got stories. I could tell you 100 stories, how it has affected different people. And here again, just by painting a little fire hydrant. So I think we all should find one little thing that we can do, and I think we'll all blow our minds away at how exciting it can be for the whole world, not just you. But thank you very much for this wonderful surprise. And I'm always pleased to share fire hydrant stories with anybody. And enjoy Fairfield. It's one of the best places in the world. And Tom Stanky, I don't know whether he's gone now. Hey, Tom, you're one of the ones that makes it the town that it is. Thank you very much.
Gene, thank you, and that's an unbelievable, inspirational story. Thank you so much. Now on to the exciting business of the Board of Selectmen.
I saw a yawn in the background.
All right. Next up,
Oh.
item 4. To consider and act upon the minutes of the regular meeting of November 20th, 2013. May I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All right, ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next up, to consider and act upon the minutes of special meeting of December 11th, 2013. May I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
We ready? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. The minutes are done. This is going to hurt. Next up,
Are you really going to do it?
I'm going to see if Tom would like to.
Just kidding. Move to postpone it?
Well,
No,
let's ask
if he's
him.
here,
Can I do it?
let's ask him.
Okay.
He doesn't have to come.
Mr. Stanky. Tom, we don't always do things this way, but obviously we got you here under false pretenses. And when the question arose, how do we get you here? I just picked something that I know you and I briefly mentioned. We've talked about from time to time in terms of status reports with state equipment coming in, what's going on. And I said, yeah, just have Tom give us an update on the marsh. I figured you'd come and just give us an update on the marsh, but no! You're way too thorough for that. So now you've created quite the conundrum or dilemma here. We didn't mean to take up your time, either preparing or giving this body a report. We really wanted to get you here so we could recognize you. But given you did prepare said report and update, did you want to give it, or?
If you've had an opportunity to read it, and have any questions, I can just outline the area.
Tom, I think we need to get you over closer to the mic.
Tom Stanky, Conservation Director.
Good night, Gene. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Just a recap of what happened since last October. The Hurricane Sandy overwashed the beach, the dikes, carried away a lot of, several hundred tons of floatable debris, large debris that can get jammed in on culverts or pipes. And what we're trying to do is...
Tom, would it be easier just to set that down here and then you can just talk to it? I don't think it can be seen very well through the cameras in any event, so.
Only in on the microphone.
And we'll keep it off the microphone.
The map depicts the area between the first dike in Fairfield Beach Road. It's called the Hump Dike. It's down behind the Fire Training Center, and it extends to the right or to the east over to through Reef Road and over to Roland Road. And the two marsh areas that where all the debris really landed were on the east and west side of Reef. And what we're now trying to do is go in with the because the state mosquito control program has been on hold for 3 years, first due to Irene, then to Sandy. We only have 2 months out of the year in which to do this work. So we're looking at October, November, and we received a time extension to carry it into the end of January. And what we're trying to do is retrieve, got all the decks, the stairs, the picnic tables, all the materials that would be lifted up, carried out with the currents, and then impinge on the culverts at Reef and at the dike. And when that happens, the debris can seal off flow, discharge, and then we're in a pickle for dewatering the impounded area. And what we're trying to do now is get all of this out of here before the next storm that we're inevitably going to get. Hopefully, we'll have it done by the end of January. If not, they'll be back in October of 2014 to continue the project. One of the big concerns is, luckily, it was delayed for 2 years, because once the debris hit, the only things that we are aware of that we can remove this material from the marsh with is a special amphibious equipment that the state DEP has. And we received a grant, as it were, for removing all the sediment in the mosquito breeding areas. And in order to do that, they first must lift up and relocate all the floatable debris that's settled in those breeding areas, and aggravated that problem. So luckily, the two forces have converged, and we should be out of here by the end of January with this place cleaned up.
Any questions from the board?
Not at this time.
I just want to say, if I have other questions, I will ask them later, as I know your family is waiting, and I apologize for earlier. Although I did actually read the backup and did have questions, but we thank you for being here today.
Glad to, anytime, any questions.
Thank you.
Tom, thank you again. All right, and the snows don't hold this up, right? So it's not weather dependent in that sense? Okay. Good. All right, moving on to the next agenda item. Tax collector to consider and act upon tax refunds as recommended by the tax collector in the amount recommended. May I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I move to amend the item, just adding a comma at the end instead of a period, and adding $279.93.
Second?
Second.
All right, any discussion on the amendment? We're ready to vote on the amendment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the item as amended stands before us. Any further discussion on the item? We're ready to vote?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. To hear, consider, and act upon any communications. There's none that I know of. To hear and consider and act upon any other business that shall come before this meeting. There is none that I know of. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second.
Second.
All right. Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, aye.